because their services are budgeted by the state for the sole purpose of advising municipalities, there's no additional cost to Oak Ridge for their assistance. And because they employ professionals with the required expertise for each area of their services, they already have the necessary professionals for an evaluation of our police department. They are the only choice because they have been created by the Tennessee General Assembly for this very situation. Their financial support by the General Assembly makes them free to us, and they have the most experience in conducting the review we are looking for. I ask that you select MTAS for the police department review in order to provide the highest quality level of service for the least cost to the city.
Thank you, Mr.
William Kane, 410 Sherwood, Clinton, Tennessee. I just want to bring up the fact that the particular investigator that was mentioned in your letter to the council, Mr. Callison, your proposal, Mr. Barton, one of his, and this is according to the University of Tennessee's alumni magazine, one of his greatest accomplishments in law enforcement is developing the Tennessee Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. That program is currently housed under the Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police. And I want to speak to Mr. Hope. I know that after I spoke the last time, you made specific mention that this is a general police department review, and I think that's fantastic. But there is one person that is the head of the police department. And if that particular person, who, by the way, sits on the board of directors of Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police, which houses Rex Barton's greatest and manages Rex Barton's greatest career accomplishment, I think there's a very clear and defined conflict of interest there. With regard to all the proposals that have been received, for all of a sudden for there to be a resolution from you stating that this is who the city council should go with and to put it up for a vote, I think that that lends itself to some serious questions. You know, were there discussions outside of the city council meeting between you or anybody else on this council regarding the MTAS proposal? I certainly hope not, but you know, everybody should have the opportunity that's made a proposal to step in front of the city council and to be able to answer questions from each and every one of you, and it should be something that's out in the open and something that's public. And I just want to make one final comment. I mean, I know you guys want to get this done quickly. Mr. Hensley, you said this was tying down the police department. I'm not sure that this investigation or review or whatever that you guys are going to go with is tying the police department down. I would say that if you called 911 right now, you would have a police officer right here in a hurry. So the police department is still functioning. But instead of rushing this through, this should be done completely above board, and there should be no question about how MTAS was chosen. But I think there are very clear conflicts of interest between the investigator chosen. You even put in your letter to the council, sir, you said that you felt the Oak Ridge Police Department should seek out state accreditation. If that's not a conflict of interest to the investigator who's going to be handling this, I'm not sure what is.
Question, Mayor, relative to that from
To Mr. Kane.
Yeah. How long has it been
Mr. Kane, come back to
Yeah,
just a
Mr.
second.
Kane. How long has it been since Mr. Barton was a chief of police?
I'm not sure that he ever was chief of police. I think I read somewhere that he was a captain. I could be mistaken on that, but I do know that he is still an active part of TACP training. I've attended myself at accreditation meetings with regard to building files and developing the accreditation process. So he is still very much involved with the accreditation process.
I believe it's been 20 years, and he was a police officer in Athens, I believe, 20 years ago.
Okay. But he's still directly affiliated with the TACP's Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. The University of Tennessee Alumnus Magazine stated it was one of his greatest career accomplishments. He's still affiliated with that, and that's housed at the TACP, and your chief of police is on the board of directors at the TACP.
And that would mean that Mr. Barton knows quite a bit about how police should function.
I would say it's also a conflict of interest, with all due respect.
Ms. Thomas.
Kristen Thomas, 182 Wade Lane. Yeah, I initially came up here to say that knowing many of these officers, and I certainly don't speak for all of them, but knowing quite a few of them and feeding them and, you know, going to events with them, I can tell you with quite a bit of certainty that if MTAS investigates this, they're not going to speak, first of all, which would be to your benefit. But then I got caught off guard by the fact that proposals have to be put in for calls. However, my husband's morale and safety is not a concern, and so we'll just go willy-nilly about this. What I would ask is that everybody here just think for a minute what life would be like without police officers. And I also want you to look at other municipalities and look at the value that they place on their police department. You all are treating them like they are just common citizens who are doing just a plain, these are people who run towards gunfire, something that probably 90% of the men in this room would not do, not to save anyone. And they do it for strangers, and very little pay, I might add, compared to the risk. So I would ask for a little bit of respect from everybody in this room as far as addressing them and what they are worth to this city. Thank you.
Ms. Thomas. I take high offense of what you just said. With regard to me personally and how I sit on this council, I have the utmost respect for every police officer, man or woman that's in that department, for every city employee that's in that department, okay? For every city staff member that's on city staff, for every school teacher that's in this area. I was elected by a majority of 29,000 people to sit on this seat. And I take that highly offensively when you say we have no respect. I have the utmost respect for every one of them. I depend on their services just like you do. And I don't ever want to have to dial 911 and them not be able to come and respond to me. I think it's a very highly stressful job in which they perform every day. So I do take extreme offense to what you just said.
What I would say is then vote appropriately on this, because I'm speaking as an officer's wife and really family of several officers. We're family. So my question to you, or my request to you would be that you vote appropriately to that, because MTAS will not be an appropriate vote. The chief police officer.
One, I won't be as adamant as Chuck, but I have supported the police since the day I got on this council. I've advocated for more officers, for better equipment, and I've never voted against an issue involving the police. And 6 police officers approached me at the CMVR meeting out there where the governor was here. 6 different police officers, and said that they very much supported my position on this issue. And they wanted the idea of fairness.
May I respond? Oh.
Tracy Stout Powers, 103 Norton Road. Something doesn't have to be free or right. It can be both, and it's actually not free. It's taxpayer funded as far as the impact. To present yourself as if you're the only one of our city council members that seeks the truth, I can assure you that's not right. No one here wants to sweep anything under the rug. It's just because a couple of people say that something wants to be swept under the rug does not make it true. It's also as if the vote doesn't go your way, then you're going to claim it was all a big farce and a big lie, and then they'll start suing everybody. It's just how.
Let's stay on the subject before us, and that is the proposal to engage the services of MTAS.
Okay. Then I believe we should go with MTAS. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Myra Mansfield, live at 103 Hendricks Drive. I want to remind you again that the state of Tennessee has a series of laws that govern the conduct of public officials. Doing things that are unethical puts you at risk of being charged with TCA 3916 402 or 403 or 404 or any of the other numbers that someone can look at the videos and see what you've done. Now, I just want to clear the smoke a little bit because Mr. Callison has admitted that, and I quote, MTAS supports the city. Mr. Abel kindly contributed to that idea by saying, reading their mission statement, and saying they serve Tennessee's municipalities. That's because they serve the government's interests, not the individual's interests. And Mr. Gooch understands that because he's a corporate attorney and he does this kind of work privately. Ms. Smith talked to Rex Barton, and he made a big deal over confidentiality, but Ms. Smith claims to want to allow all the officers to speak, yet voted against a 100% participation. Mr. Hope, I'm not sure if you voted against 100% participation, but you did just claim to care about all the police department. I agree it was abuse of power for Mr. Callison to go outside the city council as a team and begin recruiting MTAS before there was ever even a vote about having an investigation. You already had that in your back pocket. So I want to ask you, is this the kind of way you conduct your private business? Do you just go out and grab any car when you want a new car? Do you just go grab any house? Or do you give a time and attention to what suits you? You are in charge of public business in this city. You are a servant of the public. You are not the top. You are the bottom servants to our interests. Please, please vote that way.
Mr. Acatello.
Leonard Abbott, 110 Dover Lane, Washington, D.C. You're about to vote on MTAS. I would like to say that this council has failed me in what I expected out of you since the February meeting. The proper way to handle this, I believe, since there are no procedures outlined, would have been to create a committee, council committee, following the February meeting, to assemble a group of capable contractors and do this investigation, review, whatever you want to call it, and to do it in as unbiased a way as possible, and to vet all of their capabilities and past histories in the newspaper where we as citizens could have seen it. If you have 3 or 4 or 5 on the table now, I suggest you take 1 week and do just exactly that. You bring it out, bring that committee together to get an answer for what they believe, the committee believes, is the best solution. The one that creates the strongest trust of us citizens. It's trust is the issue here. And it's that trust which you should err in the direction of doing as completely and as accurately and as fairly as possible. I don't know that MTAS is the best or the worst. MTAS is very capable of a number of things that I've been involved with them. But I would believe that that choice should be a general choice of your whole council, not with one item on the table, but with all of them on the table. And I'd like to see you do that. Thank you.
David Kitzmiller, 144 Wellington. Mr. Callison, thank you very much. I voted for you and I voted for Mr. Chin and several others to bring change. The speed at which MTAS can do this is great. The fact that you're thinking outside of the box is great. I applaud you. The rhetoric and the smoke, as people have commented, of doing business with the government is long and extensive, and the fact that MTAS can move forward and they've done 50 reviews speaks for itself. There should be no question if they've done 50 and they personally give references saying that there's no that their confidentiality is kept. I just don't understand why you want to continue to spend my tax dollar to go somewhere else when something can be done for free and they've done 50. Thank you for thinking outside the box and bringing that to us.
Mr. Allen.
Anthony Allen, 109 Bedford Lane. I respect each of you there, I really do. However, it just feels really strange, Mr. Allison, that this impact is kind of being crammed down our throats, you know. There are many organizations out there that can do this, but what has been said is that there is a trust issue. You know, we feel like we want you to investigate, and I keep hearing people using the review word. That's not going to set well. It's not going to go very well if we review everything. Review means that the information is already there and you like it. Investigate means that we want to have a thorough investigation of the police chief and his allegations, because it is about trust. And when you just come with this one proposal, this one idea, we don't even have a chance to look at what anyone else has done. We should lay it all on the table for everyone to look at and find one. Not just have one brought to us. We are intelligent people here in Oak Ridge, and for you just to bring one only and say, this is the one that you have to have. That's not what we want. We want an openness about it. We want something on the table for everyone to actually look at. Suppose there is another organization out there that has done 200 of these. We don't even know that now. We just keep counting as 50. They have done 50. There could be one that has done more than that, but we don't even know that now.
Mr. Bailey.
Matt Bailey, 17 Riverside Drive, Oak Ridge. Mr. Councilman, I applaud you for bringing it to the council. Had you followed the example of other council members, you would have called Mr. Fowler and the Oak Ridger, and you would have submitted it to them prior to coming to the council. I applaud the fact that you brought this here and brought it to everybody's attention. I would think that's the way that a team works, is you all sit and have this conversation before you notify me. Thank you for doing that.
Mr. Council. Oh, Mr. Henry.
No, I'm sorry.
First of all, I just want to give perspective. I spent 20 years in the Coast Guard. In Group Detroit, I had 320 people working for me. They were all enlisted. They went out and did search and rescue. I understand the job. I was on the boats. Oh, yes, I do. We carried guns. We were the first place in the Coast Guard to do drug interdiction. My guys were putting their lives on the line all the time. I went out with them at night on search and rescue cases that the other people wouldn't go out on. So I understand where you're coming from. I'm not saying that I know police for sure. I'm just telling you that I understand the business, okay? And then everybody wants to say, I just shoved this thing down your throat. Hell no. I brought it up here. I suggested it was a good way to do it. I provided the a background and a proposal and everything else. And if the council doesn't like it, I'm not shoving it down their throat. I'm one of 7 people. And certainly, if 6 people voted against me, it's not going to happen. So it is a suggestion. I personally reviewed it. I met the Rex who could do the work for us. I looked at his resume. I do this all the time. I hire people. I fire people. I understand people and what makes them work. So this looked like an excellent proposal to me. Now it's up to the council to either agree with me or decide, well, let's take a couple of months and let's go find somebody else.
Other discussion. Seeing none, we're ready for vote on item D, a resolution accepting a proposal from the Municipal Technical Advisory Service for review of the Oak Ridge Police Department with a particular focus on turnover, morale, and administrative policies. will go to the board. Motion passes 5 ayes, 1 nay, 1 abstention. Next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk.
Request for the agenda of the special meeting requested for March 27th to include selection of a reviewer to conduct the police review approved in February. I believe we've completed that item. We can move on.
Next item will be number D, Madam Clerk.
To discuss and possibly vote on the merits of placing the chief of police on administrative leave for the duration of the investigation.
Move for approval?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to discuss and possibly vote on the merits of placing the chief of police on administrative leave for the duration of the investigation. Ms. Bond, you recognize.
Thank you. Due to the nature of the complaints and the grievances that have brought us to this point, and the fact that most of them, if not all, pointed to leadership, and the fact that Chief Akagi is the senior leader of the ORPD, I brought this item forward. The ORPD disciplinary policy and procedures allows for emergency relief from duty. That an employee shall, during this emergency suspension, retain full pay and benefits, and shall be instructed as to his or her duty station in their legal and actual residence as they remain there during their regular duty hours, available for contact from department representatives. Given the complaints that have come to my attention and to that of others, I believe, I don't know, 100% of what has come to me versus other members of council, but as recently as last week, I was informed that Chief Akagi reached out to a past employee and asked that person if they would speak favorably of him during the investigation. I've also been informed, and we were informed by Mr. Mansfield, that he has begun to change policies that he was previously very firm on, which indicates an attempt to garner favor. The nature of the investigation, the nature of the allegations alleged certain criminal violations, and Mr. Akagi's presence unduly influences and could intimidate interviewees if left on the job while the process is going forward. So I believe the only fair way to prevent undue influence on his part is to allow him to take administrative leave while still being paid.
Mr. Hensley.
Yeah, I would like to withdraw my second. It's in the book.
Well, all right, Mr. Hensley, I will allow you to withdraw your second. I will second Ms. Bond's motion to continue with this discussion. Now, we've gone through a fairly substantive evening here, and I want us to conclude our agenda, and I think this item deserves discussion, and for that reason, I will second Ms. Bond's motion after you've withdrawn yours, Mr. Hensley, if that's what you want to do.
Yes.
Okay. Let the record reflect Mr. Bond, Mr. Hensley withdraws his second, and I second Ms. Bond's motion. Further discussion by council members before we hear from our citizens. Mr. Agle.
I would like to read from Section 3 of the Oak Ridge City Charter. The manager shall be responsible to the council for the administration of all units of the city government under his or her jurisdiction and for carrying out policies adopted by council. except for the purpose of inquiry, the council and its members shall deal with the administrative officers and employees solely through the manager. Neither the council nor any member thereof shall give orders to the manager's subordinates or otherwise interfere with managerial functions through such means as directing or requesting the appointment or removal of any of the manager's subordinates or the making of any particular purchases from or contracts from any specific organization. The office of any council member violating any provision of this section shall immediately become vacant upon the member's conviction in a court of competent jurisdiction. Trina Bond brought this motion tonight. The city council demands that she be removed from office.
Mr. Brewington.
Percy Brewington, 1074 West Sutter Drive. Folks, you're finding the chief of police guilty. I don't know that, you know. I live out in the neighborhood that suddenly sees a lot more police presence. It makes me feel comfortable. I haven't talked to anyone who says the chief is not doing a good job. I don't know everything you know. I don't think I want to know everything. Folks, he should not be furloughed or put on administrative leave. That is very, very negative in its implications. Implications to the selection process that brought him here, to him, it's a death blow. You have to think of him too. And by the way, you know, one of the things that made me really like this guy before I even met him was early in the game, he made 3 arrests himself. He was willing to go out there, like other policemen, and take the risk of making an arrest. I said that makes a good chief. I think he needs to run the police department. It's being run to the satisfaction of the few citizens that I've talked, I won't say few, the citizens I've talked to. We like what we see. Is that not the measure? Has the crime rate gone up in this town? I don't think so. Has it gone down? I don't know. But as a citizen, I'm very satisfied with the chief. He needs to run the police department. It's running now, as you pointed out before. And it's running very satisfactorily as far as we and the citizens I know have said. So I see no point in having somebody else run the police department. He needs to have input in this study. My God, he needs to have input in this study. And he should have that input as the chief of police. So I'm asking you to really consider. You're going to kill a man's career. You're going to upset